Hello again and welcome back. My name is Callen Wejrowski, and in this lesson I want to cover how we need to make some changes to our footwork in order to allow for the moves that we're going to be teaching in these upcoming lessons as we make the transition from beginner to intermediate. The information that I'm going to cover in this lesson overlaps somewhat with what I covered in the previous lesson. But trust me, the information in this lesson is a little bit different from the last lesson and somewhat crucial to moving on in these lessons. Plus, it will allow for the upcoming lessons to make a lot more sense and to go a lot more smoothly. Now, up until this point, we have not taught any inside turns. The reason for that is because you can't do any inside turns without changing the footwork and the count. If the lady or the gentleman is to do a single inside turn, the other person needs to take an extra 5-6, because a single inside turn takes about 4 beats to complete, and a single set of 5-6 is only 2 beats. Let me go ahead and just real quickly demonstrate that. Again, we're going to teach inside moves in some of the upcoming lessons. But if I was going to lead the lady into one single inside move, I would let her know on the 3-4, and then she would do the turn. It would go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. It kind of takes almost 4 whole beats to get around for a single inside turn. Additionally, when we do multiple turns in either direction, the other person that's not doing the turn or turns will need to add additional steps, either 3-4s or 5-6s. They're going to need to add a pair of steps for each additional turn. Now, in the next several turns that Shelley and I will be teaching, the gentleman will need to change his footwork, because we're going to be teaching how to do multiple ladies outside turns, and we're going to be teaching ladies inside turns. After several lessons, then the lady will need to change her footwork, because we'll teach how the gentleman can do multiple outside turns and some inside turns. But regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, you can do yourself a favor and practice taking the extra steps on your own now in order to prepare and help for the upcoming moves and help them to go more smoothly. So, now that you know that we'll need to change our footwork in order to allow for additional turns or for even a single inside turn, I encourage you to practice this. Let me take a few moments and demonstrate what you can do to practice. I'll show what the gentleman can do first, and then I'll demonstrate what the ladies can practice. What the gentleman can practice is simply taking extra 3-4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you wanted to mix it up with some basics, you could do a basic, some extra 3-4s in basic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. And of course you could practice going the other direction. That could go something like this. I'll do a basic first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. The ladies' part would obviously be just the same. And this may not be necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and show that. The ladies could practice by adding some 3-4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or if the lady wanted to practice doing a basic and then maybe some extra 3-4s and 5-6s, it could go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. The reason that practicing this is so important is because you don't want to be stuck on the idea of just doing the basic footwork. If you practice this, as simple as this might seem, if you practice this and get used to the idea, you'll be more likely to naturally do it when the need arises. If you're not prepared to change your footwork when necessary, the other person may do a turn or multiple turns that require it, and you won't be dancing in sync with your partner. As a matter of fact, if the gentleman was to do several, let's say, outside turns, but the lady doesn't do the additional footwork, he's going to be on that side of the dance floor while she's going to be on this side of the dance floor. And this might all seem so simple, but it's an area where people kind of get hung up. I just, within the last month, happened to go to a place where there were some free dance lessons. There was a whole group of young people, and the instructor taught them how to do a single turn. And then the instructor said, now what we're going to do is do a couple turns. And you should have seen some of the guys were like, no, it's like, we barely got this down. So some of these little things are kind of simple, but if you don't practice them and kind of make them your own, so to speak, and get comfortable with them, it can make doing simple things like multiple turns a little tricky. I encourage you to practice these changes to your footwork with some sort of organized fashion, which I'll demonstrate in the next lesson. To me, it's a little bit like learning how to play an instrument. If you were going to learn how to play a guitar, let's say for instance, or the piano, you could sit down and just play a bunch of random notes with no rhyme or reason, and then get done and say, that's what I intended to play. But typically you don't practice that way. Typically you have, either in your mind or written down, you have notes, a plan that you intend to follow, and then you try to see how well you can follow that. So to some extent, I encourage you to consider doing that if you want to practice making these changes to your footwork. If you want more information on this topic of practicing and changing the footwork, you could go back to the original playlist that's on my channel and watch a few lessons from that old series where I go into quite a bit more detail on this. It may be a little corny and over the top, so I'm not encouraging you to do it necessarily if you're understanding what we're covering in these few lessons here. But if you want more information, or if you want to hear a little bit of information about the neon moon lamp that I used in the original series, and also a little bit about the person that was involved in some lessons that I put on YouTube many years ago, which now I've taken down. But you could go back and watch lessons 4B, 4C, and 4D. They're in the old series, the original series, and again, if you're understanding what we're doing, you may not want to waste your time and go back and watch those. But if you're interested, you might consider doing that. In the next lesson, for people who are interested, I'm going to jump right into some music and giving you an opportunity to practice an example of what I've just demonstrated in this lesson. First, I'm going to go ahead and do the gentleman's part for something like 20 or 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the ladies' part. The lesson's not real long, but it gives you a good idea of how I'm suggesting you could do a little bit of practicing to mixing up the footwork. So you might find that very helpful. I can promise you that the more comfortable you are with the stuff that I just covered in these past two lessons, the easier the upcoming lessons will be. Well, as always, if you enjoyed this lesson or found this information helpful, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.